Today, Hungary's ruling party is surpassed in the polls for the first time in decades. 3 Lebanese journalists are killed by an Israeli strike, and France helps raise $1 billion for Lebanon aid. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Friday the 25th of October 2024. Our top story today is in a striking political shift. Hungary's ruling Fidesz party, led by Prime Minister Viktor Orban, has been surpassed in opinion polls for the first time in nearly 2 decades by an emerging rival. The newly established catch-all centre-right TLDR party, founded this year by former Fidesz insider Peter Magyar, has captured the public's attention, and nearly 2 decades of Fidesz dominance appears to be in jeopardy ahead of the parliamentary elections scheduled for spring 2026. According to recent polling data from 21 Research Centre, TLDR has gained a lead, garnering 42% support among decided voters, while Fidesz trails closely behind at 40%. A separate survey by Publicis also indicates TLDR's strong position within the electorate. These results reflect a notable erosion of public trust in Orbán, who has long been a divisive figure within both Hungarian politics and the broader European Union. Orbán has consistently positioned himself as a defender of Hungary's national interests against perceived threats from Brussels, has maintained close relations with Russia, and has drawn criticism from the EU and critics at home over his erosion of democratic practices in Hungary. Magyar was previously basically unknown and has had a rapid rise to political prominence. His ex-wife was the former Justice Minister who resigned, alongside the President, earlier this year following a child abuse cover-up scandal. In the wake of this, Magyar released a recording alleging high-level corruption in Orbán's inner circle. He then announced that he was quitting the party in a Facebook post, claiming Orbán's rule was a political product, before going on to give a series of interviews in which he declared that Orbán's government was rife with corruption, and that Orbán's allies had racked up huge personal wealth hidden behind domestic private equity funds. Magyar has promised a fresh approach for Hungary, pledging to rebuild relationships with EU allies and address rule of law issues. A move aimed at unlocking approximately €20 billion in EU funds currently withheld due to concerns over governance in Hungary. After performing well in the European parliamentary elections, TLDR emerged as a credible force. With the landscape in flux, the 2026 elections could mark a pivotal moment for Hungary and its future direction. Magyar will likely be focusing on converting his support into real electoral success. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing on Monday. Plus, if you want to support the channel like BitShare, then consider joining the TLDR Daily Membership Programme for just $1.99. An Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon early Friday morning killed at least 3 journalists, marking a devastating escalation in the ongoing conflict between Israeli forces and Hezbollah. The attack targeted guest houses commonly used by media personnel in Hasbaya, where Lebanese health officials reported multiple injuries in addition to the fatalities. Among the deceased are Ghassan Najjar and Mohammed Raider from the pro-Iranian station Al Mayadeen, along with Wissam Qasim from Hezbollah's Al Manar. The incident makes Friday the deadliest day for journalists amid the year or so of conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Lebanese Information Minister Ziad Makari condemned the attack as a war crime, highlighting the dangerous conditions reporters have endured covering the war. Meanwhile, the IDF claimed earlier this week that it had uncovered documents in Gaza that show 6 active Al Jazeera reporters are operatives in Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Al Jazeera has refuted these baseless claims and has warned Israel against using such allegations as a justification for targeting journalists. The Committee to Protect Journalists said on X that Israel had repeatedly made similar unproven claims without producing credible evidence, and pointed to a previous instance in July when the IDF made a similar case for killing another Al Jazeera journalist, Ismail Al-Ghuli. Al Jazeera found that the IDF made contradictory claims that Al-Ghuli, born in 1997, received a Hamas military ranking in 2007, when he would have been 10 years old. The Press Freedom Watchdog has reported that over 128 journalists have been killed since the onset of the Gaza war, making this the deadliest period for media workers since their tracking began in 1992. Yesterday, French President Emmanuel Macron hosted a significant conference in Paris, bringing together representatives from 70 countries and 15 international organisations to raise vital aid for Lebanon, a former French colony. France itself contributed $105 million to the cause. From the $1 billion raised, $800 million is earmarked for humanitarian assistance, while $200 million will be allocated for security aid to support Lebanon and the more than 1 million individuals displaced following the recent Israeli invasion. Many of these displaced individuals have sought refuge in camps, while others have fled across the border into Syria. In his address, Macron emphasised the urgent need to end the conflict in southern Lebanon, stating that Hezbollah must halt its indiscriminate strikes. He cautioned that Israel should recognise that military success do not equate to victory in Lebanon. Towards the end of his speech, he asserted that Israel cannot defend a civilization by sowing barbarism. France's historical ties with Lebanon and its ongoing diplomatic efforts may position Paris to play a crucial role in fostering a coordinated response to the escalating conflict between Israel and Lebanon. In related developments, Italy announced new aid of $10.8 million this week, while Germany pledged an additional $64.7 million for the people of Lebanon on Wednesday. In other news, the world is gearing up for several important elections this weekend, including in Georgia, Japan, Bulgaria, Lithuania and Uruguay. On Saturday, Georgia is holding a high-stakes parliamentary election that has been framed as determining whether the country will pursue integration with the West or move further towards Russia. The ruling Russian-friendly Georgian Dream Party is pitted against a handful of opposition alliances that are hoping to deny it a majority. On Sunday in Japan, the long-dominant Liberal Democratic Party, or LDP, faces its toughest electoral challenge in more than a decade. As polls suggest, the ruling Conservative Party could lose its majority, in what would be a significant blow to Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, who took office earlier this month. The LDP is still expected to remain the largest party, though, as Japan's opposition is fragmented across a number of different parties, with the main opposition Constitutional Democratic Party forecast to make significant gains, but probably not enough for a change in government. Also on Sunday, Bulgaria is holding its 7th general election in just over 3 years, as the country continues to grapple with political instability. Of the past 6 elections since 2021, only 2 have actually produced an elected government, though both coalitions collapsed. The last election in June resulted in no clear winner, as the fragmented parliament was unable to cobble together a workable coalition. The latest polls released on Thursday suggest more of the same. Sunday is also the second round of the Lithuanian parliamentary election, where the Conservative governing party is just about still in contention, despite gains made in the first round by the left-leaning opposition. Meanwhile, Uruguay will hold the first round of its presidential election, where the centre-left opposition candidate is polling ahead. And finally, in some uplifting news, South Carolina is preparing to erect its first individual statue of an African American on its state house lawn. The statue will honour Robert Smalls, whose dramatic life story saw him go from slave to soldier to influential politician. During the American Civil War, Smalls made an audacious escape in which he stole a slaveholder's ship and sailed his family and a dozen others to freedom. A special committee has until January the 15th to come up with a design for the memorial to Smalls. We obviously discussed the many upcoming elections in today's episode, and if that's something you enjoyed, you should check out Too Long, the 2024 election special. For those of you who don't know, Too Long is our physical magazine, where every 4 months we dive deep into stories we care about and you should know about. The next issue, set to be published on December the 1st, will run through every election that's happened in 2024, a year shaped by landmark elections across the globe, from the UK and US to elections in Indonesia, Bangladesh, Mexico, Rwanda, and the biggest democratic exercise in history in India. It's not just elections either. The next issue of Too Long will also discuss the first months of the new Labour administration in the UK, unpack the successes and failures of Biden's administration, ask why Europe feels so leaderless right now, the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and Israel, and much, much more. You can pre-order your copy now at toolong.news. Better still, you can also subscribe to get 25% off every copy as long as you're a member, and get every copy sent to your front door or inbox. Plus, if you use code 2daily, you'll get an additional £2 off your order, which could bring the price down as low as £5.49. The link's in the description, and thank you for your support.